As a student at Juilliard, what was one anecdote you got from Steve Turre that took you a while to use or apply until you finally got it? He used to say things sounded like a computer. Music sounded like a computer. And so what he meant was like, it sounded like way over composed maybe, or like it sounded like only a computer could execute it. And for a long time, I didn't like have a nuanced understanding of what he meant, but now as a professor, I can definitely tell when a student has written a piece of music on their instrument or on a piano or at the drums or on a guitar versus writing it in the computer, like straight into the finale or a muse score or something. Because there's like a disconnect from the natural way of phrasing that happens, I think, when you write at the computer. That doesn't always translate super well to actual playing. And so a lot of times that has to do with like the amount of notes you're playing, where you breathe, so something I do to combat that is to just like, okay, when you're writing, even if you have to write right into the computer, just make sure that you're singing the phrasing and singing the phrases so you know how it feels, so it's not just like random notes align, forever and ever and ever and ever and ever and ever, right? So you want to make sure that you're letting it feel natural. So that's how, so I sing it, and then, but yeah, he used to say that a lot about different music and be like, it's all this, none of this, he used to say that a lot too. And I feel it now. I didn't understand at the time. It's not really an anecdote, I guess, but it was very helpful, informative. It makes me think, make sure my music has some of this, by this, I mean heart, feeling, soul, whatever you want, whatever words you want to use to describe it. But it can't be all mechanical, right? It's got to be, at least in my opinion, it's got to be some combination of technical and musical and soulful all at the same time. That's what I aspire to anyway. What trombone player have you been revisiting lately? I don't know. I haven't been revisiting. I guess I was revisiting J.J. Johnson. We recorded Say When last week, and so I've been listening a lot to that J.J. Johnson big band record. He's just so, I don't know, it's like a very cliche answer, but like he's so clear and he's just so precise. He's just a master. There's a reason, why everyone goes to him over and over and over again. In your recent practice, what is one thing you're working on that has been taking a while to fully master? Okay, sure. I'll tell you about something. Something I've been working on that I have not mastered, and I still haven't mastered. I've been working on this since college, right? Well, there's a few things. So when I was in my last year of studying at Eastman, I was in a combo class with Harold Danko. So Harold Danko is a pianist, and he used to run the program at Eastman. He's retired now, but so we were working on train tunes. And so something that people play a lot on train tunes is like they play 1, 2, 3, 5, like digital patterns, right? Right, I'm just playing the first couple chords of Giant Steps right now. So people would play 1, 2, 3, 5 a lot, right? So he postulated, like, why does it always have to be 1, 2, 3, 5? Couldn't it be something else? So we started exploring 1, 2, 4, 5. So that would be like 1, 2, 4, 5 would be. Now it's kind of problematic because sometimes you end up on playing the fourth on a major chord, the fourth scale degree. I mean, so I'm playing this shape. I play. So I've been trying to substitute that in. So what you do is you just start on the fifth instead, on that chord, right? So instead of playing 1, 2, 4, 5, you get 5, 6, 1, 2. Like once you get to the E flat. So I've been thinking about that for a long time. 1, 2, 4, 5 as like a digital pattern, starting on different scale degrees, and being able to play it up and down the horn. So then you end up with things like. Now Steve Turre would play. But then I'm adding one extra note to it. So. It's just a subtle difference, right? But the magic of this little shape is that then you can make the second note flat instead. So then you go like. And then you start to think about where does that fit on different chords, because between those two shapes you can get through a lot, use them on top of a lot of chords, right? So that half step could be the major 7, the half step could be a flat 9, it could be a lot of different things. So, and I started thinking about it that way, and so I started to think about like what other, like, so basically it's 2 groups of whole steps, right? We've got, and then, or a half step and a whole step, right? It's a half step and a whole step, or a whole step and a whole step. I know I'm saying things, I'm going really fast, and I don't usually dig into these things on here. So hopefully, let me know if this is the kind of stuff you'd rather see than just me talking. But so I took that idea and I said, what if I applied it to other things? So then I started thinking about triad pairs, right? So people play stuff like this. Triad pairs. That's a Michael Davis exercise. He plays that in his book. Literally exactly like that. So that's like a whole step triad pair. So I said, what if I did other kind of pairs, right? Because I thought, that open shape, right? And then I've got pairs, and then I said, what about tritone pairs? So then I started to dig into this. So tritone pairs, so they're a whole step apart, right? So you get this. So if you think about it, so what I was just playing a tritone pair from A flat and B flat, so a whole step apart. So the other notes end up being D and E. So you get. So what it spells, it ends up spelling out like a B flat 7, flat 9. Sorry, flat 5, not flat 9. B flat 7. It's kind of like a whole tone sound. So, getting back to the question, long ways around, I've been thinking about that concept, and I've been thinking about those 3 shapes for 10 years or so. When did I graduate college? 2009. And what year is it? 12 years. Anyway, so I'm still working on that. It's hard, man, especially those tritones. In writing your latest book, were there any pieces of material you wish you could have included that didn't get published? No, I included everything I wanted to at this point. I'm sure there's other stuff that'll come up, though. So the main thing that I've found in publishing this book was that I was hesitant to include a lot of things that might become outdated super fast. So like tactics on YouTube, tactics on Instagram, tactics on TikTok, hand-to-hand combat tactics, like stuff changes so often. Like, like at one point going live was the thing on Instagram. And then the next time it switched and it was like, okay, now it's reels. Okay, now it's stories. Okay, now it's posts. How you should use this many hashtags or that many hashtags. So I didn't include any of that stuff because I wanted to keep it relevant. So maybe I should have put an addendum there. What was one epiphany you had during your undergrad at Eastman? How did it change your viewpoint? When I started jazz school, I didn't know anything about anything. My path came through studying with Wycliffe Gordon, right? So when I was in high school, he used to come to Rochester, and I got to hang with him a little bit, and he was super gracious enough to let me hang out with him, basically, and show me some things. But that was like a very intuitive way of playing, It wasn't like learn this, and this. It was like his whole thing is like sing it, sing it first. That's his book, right? Wycliffe's book, sing it first, and so that's what we would work on, and I didn't know that there was like a thing like a flat 9, or I didn't know that was a thing like sharp 9. I didn't understand what any of that was, and so then I learned here's the altered scale, and I'm like, okay, you put this on the dominant chord, and then I just had that one thing, and so my first year ear training class what blew my mind was that people could hear the difference in those different qualities of chords. That blew my mind. I had no idea you could do that. I didn't even know there was different ones. I don't know. That sounds like super crazy, but like the biggest epiphany was like, oh, there's things to hear and learn to hear, and like this is what a dominant chord is, and this is what a flat 9 sounds like, and this is a sharp 9, and this is a sharp 5, and this is a 13. So that might sound very simple, but that was like a huge thing for me. Like I didn't even know, is a Conn 8H good for leading trombone on big band? Sometimes I feel like Conns don't cut quite enough. They're a little warm and buttery, but they don't have like the cutting kind of thing that you sometimes need. The King 2Bs or 3Bs generally have a little bit more of that zip on the front of the sound to help with that. But just something to think about. I don't know if I would play an 8H to play lead, but when playing outside the changes, do you find that staying in the upper range works better than the middle and lower registers because of our axis lower? It can be. I think you can play more dissonant notes in the lower register with effectiveness if you're careful. It can be a little bit muddy sounding sometimes if you're not careful with how you use them, but it can be done. It's more clear to hear it a little bit in the upper register, but sometimes I think low register feels more impactful sometimes with a dissonant note, than relying on the upper register all the time. And because I'm a person, I want to use like the whole range, of the horn. So as an educator, how would you say your teaching style has evolved, and what have you been trying to refine recently? Well, I'm always thinking about it, and I feel like there's always a push and pull between communication and expectation. And I'm trying to, find a way to continue to be more clear, and to try to incorporate as much ownership from the student side as possible in what they're working on. That's important. I don't like to just be like, do this, do this, do this, do this, do this. And then I have a tendency to assume people know things because they say, yes, I know this thing, right? And so I give people the benefit of the doubt that they're telling me the truth. And when the case most of the time is that they actually don't know and they just don't want to look stupid. But so I'm trying to encourage people to be more honest, to be more open, create more of a safe space to make mistakes. You got to sound bad. If you're in this office studying with me or online and you are sounding bad, then you're doing it right. If you're sounding good all the time, then you aren't practicing anything. You're just playing stuff you're already good at. Always trying to be more clear. I sometimes give too much information in a short amount of time, so I'm trying to be a little bit more effective in that way. But then, like Taylor asked a question, and he's in my improv class, and that improv class is basically, it's a bebop focused class, and it's kind of like those Barry Harris sessions that you can see on YouTube. It's like, okay, play this, now play this, now play this, now play this. And so I try to do things that I know will be miserable for people to do on their own, and do that in a group setting, and create kind of like a group cohesion through doing things that are hard together, right? So like, it's really hard to sit in your room by yourself and take things through 12 keys until you're already good at it. Like, it can be really hard. So I try to sit there and like help get through that, like do it together. And for some people it happens really fast, and other people it's really slow. And so in the class I always talk about like, hey, this is going to be, some parts of this class are going to be easy, some parts are going to be hard. Be patient when it's easy for you, it's going to be hard for somebody else. And then when it's something, and then vice versa, it's not going to be the same for all people. So anyway, those are a couple things about my teaching that I'm trying to refine. Thanks for the question. When taking a big band as an MD, what do you typically listen out for? If I'm the MD of a big band, it really has to do with the musical concept of the band. Like, what is the band going to be? But I can tell you what I value, I suppose, in putting a band together. I think sound, you gotta have a great sound, and a great sound, like how does your sound fit into the role of the band? Like I personally would rather someone with a big sound play third trombone, even if they're the best, quote unquote, best reader, best whatever, best soloist. I would rather they play second or third than lead because they don't have the right sound concept. Not that they couldn't, because they certainly could, but that I try to match people up with where their sound is going to fit in the band, and like where things are written, where solos are written and stuff like that. But what do I look out for when putting the band together is like concept, strong concept of their chair, their role, and then being a great reader. I don't want to rehearse, we didn't rehearse for this big band record. Just show up and play it, man. That's just like, I guess kind of a New York mentality. Just like, I don't want to rehearse, show up, play, just do it right the first time. Like that's kind of my attitude. Like obviously, like if it's like I want the chart to be wrong. The player played it right, but the chart is wrong, or the chart needs to be adjusted. That's kind of how I feel. So I always err on the side of that. So you got to be able to do that. You got to be and then you got to be just like a responsible human being, because if you don't show up, what can I do? I can't do anything with that if you don't show up. So those are a couple of things. I'm going to wrap up for today. Thanks for being here. Andy Martin is our first guest. I hope you'll join us for Jazz Trombone Bootcamp June 13 through June 17. We'll be talking all things jazz trombone. So if you play trombone and in the jazz world, you want to be there to work, dive deep into that for a week and have things to practice. If you ask any of the people, we give like 100+ page packet every year. And you won't be able to practice it all in one summer. It's a lot of stuff. We dig into a lot of things. You get a lot of great insight from a master class every single day with a guest. But that's where we're headed. nickfinzer.store. You can jump over there and grab your registration. There's only around 10 people, so please jump in and register as soon as you can. And we'll catch you soon. So thanks for being here. And we'll be back next week, same time, same place. See ya.